Hey everyone, pull up a chair and get comfortable. You're listening to James and Elena's English Chat. I'm James.
And I'm Elena. This is the podcast where we have a real conversation so you can learn real English.
Today we are talking about something we all do, but all do differently, our morning rhythms. Elena, are you the kind of person who jumps out of bed as soon as the sun hits your face?
I wish I was that energetic, James, but no. I'm more of a slow starter. I need a little bit of time to find my rhythm. A rhythm is like a beat in music, but for your life. It is the steady flow of your actions.
That makes sense. My morning rhythm is usually decided by my dog, Barnaby. He doesn't use an alarm clock. Instead, he stands right next to my ear and makes this tiny, high-pitched sneezing sound. It's his way of saying, "James, I am awake and I would like my breakfast now, please."
That is so funny. A sneezing dog is certainly a unique way to wake up. It's much more personal than a phone ringing. My morning rhythm is centered around a very specific sound, too. It's the sound of my electric kettle boiling.
Oh, I love that sound. It starts as a low whisper, doesn't it?
Exactly. It starts as a soft hum, then it grows into a deep rumble. It reminds me of when I was a child. My grandmother had a heavy metal kettle that she put directly on the fire. When the water was ready, it would whistle like a steam train. Today, my modern kettle is quieter, but that sound of bubbling water is still the most comforting thing in the world to me. It means the day has officially started.
I find that sound very relaxing. It's like the house is slowly waking up with you. But then comes the big moment, the first bite of food. I have to admit, I'm not great at planning my breakfast. Last week, I tried to make overnight oats because I saw a video about it online. You just put oats and milk in a jar, right?
That's the idea. It's supposed to be very easy and healthy.
Well, I think I used the wrong kind of oats. I woke up, opened the jar, and it was as hard as a brick. I tried to eat a spoonful and I almost broke a tooth. I ended up just eating a piece of dry toast while Barnaby watched me, looking very disappointed.
Oh, James, that's a classic kitchen mistake. You probably used steel-cut oats instead of rolled oats. Steel-cut ones need a lot more time and heat. But that's what makes morning rituals interesting. They're personal, and sometimes they go wrong.
They definitely do. But whether it's a perfect cup of tea or a failed jar of oats, that first part of the morning is so important. It's like a warm-up for the brain.
It really is. And for our listeners, we want to know, what is the one sound or taste that tells your brain the day has started? Is it the click of a toaster? Or maybe the sound of the wind outside your window?
I hope it's something better than a sneezing dog. Stick around because in the next part, we're going to talk about why these small moments actually help us learn things better, including English.
Speaking of morning sounds, do you remember the sound of a cereal box opening? That crinkle of the plastic bag inside? To me, that is the sound of a Saturday morning in the 90s.
Oh, absolutely. And it's not just the sound, is it? It's that very specific sweet smell. In my house, Saturday mornings were the only time we were allowed to have the really sugary cereals, the ones that turn the milk blue or pink.
Exactly. I have a very clear memory of my younger brother and me. We didn't even care about the taste sometimes. We were both digging our hands deep into the box, trying to find the plastic toy hidden at the bottom. My mom would get so cross, which is a British way of saying she got a bit angry, because we would leave cereal all over the floor before breakfast even started.
That's a great image, James. For me, the strongest memory isn't cereal, but the smell of burnt toast. We had this very old toaster that didn't pop up automatically. My sister was always the one in charge of the bread, but she would get distracted by the cartoons on TV. Every school morning, the house smelled like slightly charred bread.
Did you eat it anyway?
We had to. My dad used to say it was good for our teeth. But now, whenever I smell toast that has been in the toaster a few seconds too long, I am instantly 10 years old again. I can feel the weight of my heavy school bag and the hurry of trying to find my lost shoes before the bus arrived.
It's like a time machine in your nose. It's amazing how a smell can bring back a whole scene from 20 years ago. Why does our brain do that? It seems so much easier to remember the smell of toast than to remember a list of irregular verbs.
That is because of something called sensory memory. Our brains are wired to connect smells and tastes with emotions and specific moments. This feeling is called nostalgia. Nostalgia is that warm, slightly sad, but mostly happy feeling we get when we think about the past.
I definitely feel nostalgia for those plastic cereal toys. But how does this help our listeners with their English? I can't exactly smell a verb.
Maybe not, but you can use this power. When you learn a new word, don't just look at the letters. Try to connect it to a sensory memory. If you are learning the word crunchy, think about that cereal. If you learn the word bitter, think about the first time you tasted coffee as a kid and hated it.
That makes sense. It's like giving the word a home in your brain. Instead of a floating word on a page, it's now attached to a real memory of your brother making a mess on the kitchen floor.
Exactly. When we connect language to our personal stories, it stops being a school subject and starts being a part of our life. That is when you truly start to improve.
Speaking of personal stories, traveling really changes how you look at breakfast. A few years ago, I went to Japan for the first time. I stayed in a small traditional hotel called a ryokan. I woke up so hungry, thinking about pancakes or maybe some fruit. But when the waiter brought the breakfast tray to my room, I was completely confused.
Oh, I can imagine. Traditional Japanese breakfasts are very different from what we usually eat in the West. What was on the tray that surprised you so much?
Well, there was a piece of grilled fish, a bowl of hot miso soup, some rice, and even some green pickles. I remember looking at the fish and thinking, is it lunchtime already? It was so savory. That is the right word for it, isn't it?
Yes, savory is the perfect word. We use savory to describe food that is salty or spicy rather than sweet. It's the opposite of having a sugary donut or a bowl of fruit. It's funny you say that because I had the exact opposite experience when I spent a summer in Paris.
Did you miss your savory eggs and toast?
I really did. I remember sitting at a tiny round table at a cafe on a busy street corner. I was watching people walk by with their dogs and fresh baguettes under their arms. I ordered breakfast, and the waiter brought me a pain au chocolat, which is a pastry with chocolate inside, and a big bowl of coffee. It felt like I was eating dessert for breakfast. It was delicious, but after 3 days of chocolate and sugar, I was actually dreaming of a salty omelet.
It is amazing how our bodies react to those changes. I remember trying to ask the hotel host in Japan if they had anything sweet. My Japanese was terrible, so I tried to use my hands to mimic pouring syrup over a stack of pancakes. He just looked at me and thought I wanted more green tea. We both just stood there nodding and smiling, but I still ended up eating the fish.
That is a classic travel misunderstanding, but those moments are how we learn. In English, we often group breakfast into 2 categories, sweet or savory. In some cultures, breakfast is a major savory meal that keeps you full all day. In others, it's just a quick sugar rush to wake up the brain.
I definitely felt the sugar rush in Europe. But back in Japan, after the initial shock, I actually started to enjoy the grilled fish. It made me feel very strong for a day of walking around temples. However, I did have a little trouble using chopsticks so early in the morning. I was so sleepy that I dropped a piece of fish right onto my lap.
Oh no, did it ruin your clothes?
It left a massive oil stain. I had to walk around Kyoto all day with a fish-shaped spot on my trousers. People probably thought I was a very messy fisherman. I guess that's one way to remember a trip forever.
Exactly, and that is the point. Now, whenever you see the word savory or grilled fish on a menu, you won't just see letters on a page. You will think of that sunny morning in Kyoto and your stained trousers. That is a perfect language anchor. You've connected a new word to a very strong and slightly funny personal memory.
I still have those trousers, by the way, but I only wear them for gardening now. But you know, that big breakfast in Japan was a huge event. Most days, I am the complete opposite. I just want 1 cup of simple coffee and total silence. I call it my quiet time before the world starts shouting at me. I find it much harder to focus if there is too much going on early in the morning.
Quiet time is a lovely expression. Some people call it a morning ritual. A ritual is something you do the same way every time because it makes you feel good or prepared. It is like a habit, but with more meaning. Do you actually manage to keep it quiet at your house, James?
I try my best. Last Tuesday, I decided to be like my neighbor, Mr. Henderson. He is about 80 years old, and every morning he sits on his porch with a tiny espresso, just staring at the trees. He looks so wise and calm. So I grabbed my favorite mug, sat on my back step, and closed my eyes to feel at peace. I wanted to be a Zen version of myself.
And did you find your inner peace on the back step?
For about 10 seconds. Then the neighbor's dog Barnaby decided it was the perfect time to bark at a leaf. I jumped, spilled half my coffee on my slipper, and then a squirrel dropped an acorn right into my mug. Splash! My peace lasted less time than it takes to toast a piece of bread. It was a disaster.
Oh no, that sounds more like a comedy movie than a relaxing ritual. But it is interesting because many people really need that mental space to start their day. They don't want food immediately, they want clarity. Clarity means having a clear, organized mind without too many thoughts rushing around.
Exactly. I need my brain to wake up before my stomach does. But I know people who are the total opposite. My sister, for example, if she doesn't have eggs, toast, fruit, and yogurt by 8 a.m., she is like a different person and not a very nice person.
We have a funny word for that in English, hangry. It is a mix of the words hungry and angry. I actually read a very interesting article about this recently. It said that for some people, a big breakfast is a sensory way to wake up. They need the smells of cooking, the different textures of food, and the bright flavors to tell their brain, hey, the day has started. Get moving.
That makes sense. My sister says the sound of the bacon frying is her real alarm clock. But why is there such a big difference? Why do I want silence while she wants a festival of food and noise?
It often depends on how our brains handle stimulation. Stimulation is anything that excites your senses, like loud noises, bright lights, or strong tastes. Some of us are very sensitive in the morning. We need to start slowly to avoid feeling overwhelmed. Others need that boost of energy right away to feel alive. I remember being at a museum cafe once, watching a woman sketch in her notebook. She had nothing but a glass of water. She was so focused and still. Right next to her was a family of 5 eating a massive breakfast. Both sides looked perfectly happy.
I think I am definitely in the slow start camp. If someone tried to give me a full English breakfast at 7 a.m., I think I would cry. My battery definitely needs a slow charge. If I try to fast charge it with too much food or noise, I think I might short circuit.
That is a great way to put it. The important thing is finding what makes you feel mentally prepared. That means you feel ready to face your work, your studies, or your chores. Whether it is a silent cup of tea or a huge plate of pancakes, it is all about what helps your personal battery reach 100%.
But Elena, honestly, my life is not always a slow charge morning. Many times it is more like a panic charge because I have hit the snooze button on my alarm too many times. When that happens, the quiet coffee ritual disappears and it becomes a race against the clock.
I think we have all been there. That is what people call a morning rush. When you are in the rush, breakfast changes from an experience into a task. It becomes something you have to do on the go.
Exactly. I remember one Tuesday last month, I woke up late and had a big meeting. I decided to be very healthy and make a green smoothie. I threw in spinach, banana, and some protein powder. I was running for the bus, holding the blender cup, and just as I reached the doors, the lid popped off. My bright green breakfast went all over my light blue shirt. I had to go to the meeting looking like I had a fight with a lawnmower.
Oh, James, that sounds like a nightmare. But it is a perfect example of the risks of eating while moving. You mentioned the term on the go. For our listeners, that just means doing something while you are traveling or moving from one place to another. We often talk about on-the-go snacks or meals.
It definitely wasn't a grab-and-go success for me, but I see so many people doing it well. I see people on the train eating these neat little sandwiches or wraps. They look so professional, while I am just trying not to spill juice on my shoes.
Well, those people are likely commuters. A commuter is someone who travels a significant distance to get to work every day. Because they spend so much time on trains or in cars, they have mastered the commuter breakfast. I actually read an article recently about how people's breakfast habits change depending on their commute. People who take the train often prefer finger foods, like a cereal bar or a pastry, because they need one hand free to hold onto the railing so they don't fall over when the train stops.
That makes total sense. I usually go for a protein bar from the shop near the station if I'm late. It is not as tasty as a fresh meal, but it keeps me full. Elena, is it actually healthy to eat like that, just grabbing whatever is fast?
It can be a bit of a trap. Many quick options are very high in sugar. You get an energy boost for 20 minutes, and then you feel even more tired. I once had a student who told me he ate a chocolate bar every morning on the way to class because it was easy. By 10 o'clock, he was almost falling asleep on his desk. I suggested he try overnight oats. You put oats and milk in a jar the night before, and in the morning, you just grab the jar and a spoon. It is fast, but it gives you slow-release energy.
Overnight oats sounds like a much safer option than my explosive smoothies. It's funny how breakfast becomes about survival when we are busy. We just want something that gets the job done so we can start our work.
It really is about efficiency for many people. Whether it's a protein shake after the gym or a sandwich on the way to the office, the on-the-go breakfast is all about saving time without arriving at work with an empty stomach.
It really is about survival during the week. But honestly, Elena, that is exactly why I cherish my Sunday mornings so much. It is the only time I actually try to cook something that isn't just a quick sandwich. Last Sunday, I decided I was going to be a pancake artist. I saw this video online of someone making these beautiful, fluffy pancakes in the shape of different animals. I thought to myself, how hard can it be?
Oh, James, I can already see where this is going. Let me guess. They did not look like the animals in the video.
Elena, they did not even look like pancakes. My first attempt at a cat pancake just looked like a burnt cloud. I forgot that the pan needs to be at a medium heat, not a volcano heat. I ended up setting off the smoke alarm in my apartment. My dog Buster was so confused. He just sat there looking at the ceiling while I was waving a towel at the alarm. But even then, standing in my kitchen with flour on my face and a slightly burnt pancake, it felt so much better than eating a protein bar while running for a bus.
I love that image. And you are right. There is something special about what we call weekend indulgence. That word, indulgence, means allowing yourself to have something special that you really enjoy. On Sundays, I usually meet my friend Clara for a very long brunch. We go to this little place near the park with big windows. We are not there just to eat. We are there to talk. We spend about 2 hours just sitting there. I always notice that the food tastes so much richer when I am not checking my watch every 5 minutes.
Exactly. Why is that? Does our brain actually taste things differently when we are relaxed? It feels like the flavors are stronger on a Sunday.
In a way, yes. When we are stressed or rushing, our body is in a state of high alert. We do not focus on the flavors. When we sit down for a long brunch, we use all our senses. We smell the fresh coffee, we see the bright colors of the fruit, and we listen to the conversation. It is what people call mindful eating. My grandmother used to say that the secret ingredient in her Sunday cooking was not the herbs, it was the patience. She spent all morning preparing the meal, and you could taste the care she put into it.
Patience. I definitely lacked that with my cat pancakes. But I did try to make them from scratch. You use that phrase a lot when talking about cooking. It just means using basic ingredients like flour, milk, and eggs instead of a mix from a box, right?
Exactly. From scratch means starting from the very beginning with raw ingredients. It takes more time, but it is very satisfying. There is a sense of pride when you see a pile of pancakes, even if they aren't shaped like cats, that you made yourself. It is a total contrast to the quick, efficient breakfast we have on workdays.
It really is. I find that I actually talk to my neighbors more on Sunday mornings too. When I am rushing out on Monday, I just give a quick wave. But on Sunday, if I am outside getting the mail or walking Buster, I will stop and chat for 10 minutes about the weather or our gardens. The whole world seems to slow down. Do you think we need that balance to survive the rest of the week?
I think it is essential. If every day was a rush, we would burn out very quickly. These slow Sunday mornings are like a recharge for our mental battery. It is the time to enjoy the simple things, like the steam rising from a cup of tea or the sound of the birds outside. It is not just about the food. It is about the time we give to ourselves and the people we love. Before we wrap up our chat today, let's take a little time for Elena's Vocabulary Corner. I want to look at a couple of interesting words we used while talking about our favorite meals. It is always helpful to have specific words to describe what we are eating, right?
I definitely need that. Usually I just say my food is good or bad. My vocabulary for breakfast is a bit limited. What is the first word on your list today, Elena?
The first word is savory. That is S-A-V-O-R-Y. We use this word to describe food that is salty or spicy rather than sweet. When we talk about breakfast, pancakes with syrup are sweet, but an omelet with cheese and peppers is savory.
Oh, that is a great word. It reminds me of a funny mistake I made last weekend. My neighbor, Mr. Henderson, was outside while I was pulling weeds in my front garden. He is a very kind older man, and he brought over what looked like a small fruit pie. I took a huge bite expecting sweet cherries, but it was actually filled with spicy meat and onions. It was a very savory surprise. I had to drink a whole bottle of water immediately because I wasn't prepared for the spice.
That is a perfect example, James. Even though it was a surprise, that meat pie was a savory dish. Many cultures have savory pastries for breakfast or snacks. It is the opposite of a sweet dish. You can say, I'm not in the mood for chocolate. I want something savory, like some salted nuts.
I will remember that. Savory for the salt, sweet for the sugar. What is the second word for us?
The second word is crunchy. This describes the texture of food. If something is crunchy, it is hard and it makes a loud noise in your mouth when you bite it. Think of something like a fresh carrot or a piece of very dry toast.
I know exactly what you mean. I have a bit of a problem with crunchy foods. Last night, I was watching a quiet movie with my wife, and I started eating a bag of very crunchy potato chips. The movie was so quiet, and my chewing was so loud. My wife eventually had to pause the film and ask me to finish my snack in the kitchen. It was a bit embarrassing, but those chips were just so satisfyingly crunchy.
I can imagine. The sound is a big part of the experience. I actually read an interesting article recently that explained why we like crunchy food. It said that for our ancestors, a crunchy sound usually meant that a vegetable or fruit was fresh and full of water. If a leaf was soft or soggy, it might be old or rotten. So our brains are programmed to enjoy that crunch.
That makes so much sense. So when I eat my crunchy toast on Sunday morning, my brain is telling me it's fresh and good. I like that. So we have savory for the salty flavors and crunchy for the loud, hard texture.
Exactly. You can use them together too. A piece of toast with salty butter and sea salt is both savory and crunchy. They are two of my favorite ways to describe a perfect breakfast.
I feel much more prepared for my next brunch now. I can tell my friends exactly why I love my bacon and toast. It's so savory and the texture is perfectly crunchy. I think they will be impressed.
I'm sure they will be. It is much more descriptive than just saying the food tastes nice.
It really is. You know, Elena, thinking about all these breakfast foods makes me realize that the morning meal is like a warm hug for the brain. It is not just about the calories, it's about how we feel when we start the day. I remember one Saturday morning, I was in my garage trying to build a birdhouse. It was a total disaster. The wood was splitting and I couldn't find my hammer. I was so frustrated.
Oh no, did you give up on the birdhouse?
Almost. But then I went inside and made a simple piece of toast with a lot of honey. I sat there looking at my messy garage, and suddenly the problem didn't seem so bad. The comfort of that sweet, crunchy toast helped me relax. I didn't even finish the birdhouse that day, but the breakfast made the morning feel like a success anyway. It changed my mood completely.
That is a great example, James. Breakfast really is about personal comfort. I actually read an interesting article recently about food nostalgia. It explained that our brains connect specific smells and tastes from our childhood to feelings of safety and happiness. For me, whenever I smell fresh oranges, I think of my grandfather. He used to peel them for me every Sunday while we sat on a bench in the park. Even now, a glass of orange juice in the morning makes me feel calm and ready for the world.
That's a beautiful memory. It's funny how a smell can do that. I have a neighbor, Mr. Henderson, who has a very strange morning ritual. Every morning when I am taking the trash out, I see him through his window. He always eats his breakfast while standing up and looking at a giant paper map. One day I asked him why, and he said it makes him feel like he is going on an adventure before he goes to his boring office job.
I love that. It shows that breakfast is a personal ritual for everyone. I am actually trying to start a new habit myself. I used to drink a very strong cup of coffee the moment I woke up. But now I try to drink a big glass of water with lemon first while I watch the birds from my balcony. It is a small change, but it makes me feel more refreshed and less nervous than the caffeine alone. It's my way of being kind to myself in the morning.
I should try that. Maybe it would help me with my DIY projects. So to wrap things up, we've learned today that whether you like something savory like eggs or something crunchy like toast, breakfast is about more than just food. It is about your memories, your habits, and how you want to feel for the rest of the day.
Exactly. It is the most personal meal of the day. We hope this conversation helped you think about your own morning routines while practicing your English.
If you enjoyed James and Elena's English chat, please make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications to learn with us every day.
And hey, if you have a second, leave us a comment. It really helps other learners find the show.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Speak to you soon.
Goodbye.